Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be doing a unit analysis on Frederika Halloween version. And since she has been released and it has been like 2 days or 3 days since her release, it is time to get this out because the information came out. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin. Now, for the abilities, for Frederika specifically, she's going to be getting the new main job Duelist. And as a base unit, she's going to get Razor's Edge, Defensive Footwork, Ready to Engage, Fatal Pirouette, I hope I said that right, Pressure Flurry that does hit twice, and then her limit break is going to be Carving Carnival. And then from here specifically, the EX upgrades is going to turn Pressure Flurry into Drain Flurry, where she's also going to absorb the damage taken. And it still does 2 hits, so keep that in mind. And then her EX ability, the one she gets at job level 25, is going to be Resilient Stance, which is going to increase her Pierce and Magic Resistance by 30% each, which is a very big amount, but keep in mind this is only for her. For her sub-jobs, on the Duelist sub-job, she's going to get Offensive Footwork and Displacer. I will say here, you can see that she gets a lot of her evadability off of the Displacer here, as well as using her own defensive footwork. So if she used defensive footwork for her 25 extra evasion and then use Displacer to decrease accuracy for 25, means essentially that is almost 50 evasion total, like just overall like gains. So that is pretty significant. From here, however, she does also have the Dragoon subjob for pierce attacks, or the Ninja subjob if you want to kind of, I guess, use her more for, I would say, more utility based, I guess, more like class match type of situations, because you can use Decider of Fate for accuracy or Shadowbind for just like stop cheese. So yeah, those are viable options. Here we are at resistances and passives. For damage types, -5% to slash, 15% to pierce, -15% to strike, 10% to missile, and 10% to magic. As you can see, overall her only real strength, and I say strength because it's going to be above 10%, is going to be her pierce resistance, which she can build up. Keep in mind, however, there are very few amount of 100% pierce attacks out right now and in the future, so just keep that in mind. It's not too bad of a resistance to have, especially because she can build it up, but the more important ones to kind of have, in my opinion, is going to be either slash resistance, missile, or magic. And because she does kind of cover missile and magic at least by 10% minimum, it's not too bad. However, slash is a bit concerning at -5% because getting it raised up as an evasion unit is going to be kind of tough. Outside of that, however, she does have 0% AoE, 0% single target, and level 120 Master Ability included, 0 defense and 0 spirit. Her resistances to status is going to be 50% to charm and 50% to paralysis, which is pretty good. 50% to charm, you can already tell from class matches, this is an insanely good setup already. 10% to toad is, I mean, toad isn't really relevant right now, at least. Maybe in the future it might be, but right now it's not too important. So I mean, it's kind of a useless one in my opinion, just out of everything else she could have had. For her master ability, it's going to be the model element for Earth, and then she gets that 15% attack and then 5 evasion rate for herself. And I'll say this right now, she needs that increased attack percent. For her passes, what I recommend is going to be Duelist Lore, which EX upgraded turns into Duelist Mastery, which she's going to get an additional 30% attack on top of the defense penetration and evasion rate. This is really important for her to deal damage as well as the evasion rate. Shadowrunner, I will also say, is very important because it increases her agility as well as her luck. And luck directly translate into accuracy as well as evasion, and specifically for an evasion unit that her only survivability really is going to be evasion, Shadowrunner is going to be really important. Now for niche and flex passives, jump +1, she's already a 3 move 2 jump unit. She doesn't need 3 jump really. Most maps don't even need 3 jump in general, but she does, I guess, have that option. She has Fatal Blade Work if you want to increase her critical rate and critical damage, which is not bad if you want additional damage, but as we said before, she really needs that evasion to survive. Like, you're not doing damage if you're dead, so just keep that in mind. She has HP up 15% if you really want to use it, and I'll say this right now, I highly recommend don't using it because she has an insanely low base HP. Don't use it, please. I really don't want to see people using that and be like, wow, why didn't she survive a little bit longer? It's like, yeah, there are definitely better options. She does have Shikuchi, however, which allows her for 4 move 3 jump, which means she can traverse maps really quickly. However, if she's running in there alone and just running in there straight, it's gonna be a little concerning, especially if she gets taken out very quickly. For her reaction ability, she has Mirage Feint, Dragon's Blade, and Poison Barb. In my opinion, against the more higher attack statted teams, especially in like Guild War, if you're gonna be fighting mostly physical units or physical damage, having Mirage Feint, in my opinion, is going to be really good because it's just going to help her evade even more. Like another 25 a decrease of accuracy when she could already like continuously like increase her own evasion and then lower accuracy. This in general is just going to help in general for her to survive. Dragon's Blade would be the other option in general. If she's able to take a hit and survive, if this procs, she will be able to heal back some HP, which will be very useful. Now let's go to Frederika's rating out of 5. Overall, I did end up giving her a 4 out of 5. I was very close to giving her a 3.5. However, she does have very high potential used in the right setup, and especially for class match, she would be insanely annoying to play against. But yeah, in the pros, she's able to become very high evasion as well as have good consistent DPS. It's not going to have any like burst potential or like one-shotting potential. However, she still has good like consistent DPS. She's also mostly a utility slash like setup unit for damage for her team instead. She has good attack, she has good luck, she has very good agility with Shadowrunner. I believe it's like 73 agility, I believe, with it on. She has Drain Flare, which is going to be really good AP cost efficiency and usage to lower defense, as well as absorbing HP, and she can use it up to 4 times, and it hits twice. So yeah, she is able to chain that up as well if she gets multiple hits off. She has access to both slash and pierce attacks, types with different damage modifiers. They're decent, they're not going to be anything crazy. The pierce ones definitely have more, however, they're not going to be more guaranteed. Just keep that in mind, because it is a Dragoon jump and she does not have anything to reduce cast time. You're going to have to keep that in mind. She is able to use Sage's Hat for evasion, so she's not locked to only Ribbon, unlike a few other units, ironically, that don't have this issue. That have this issue of not being able to use Sage's Hat and they need Ribbon. Her resilience stance is significantly good in terms of boosting her pierce and magic resistance to a high amount. Keep in mind, however, if they have a pierce or magic like resistance in peril or penetration, this buff will not be as good as you might think it is. And I say this mostly because of Helena. If Helena is using the Cypress pile, that is 40% magic attack resistance penetration. So don't think of it as like a extra survivability thing that you can like rely on like 100%. Her Limit Break can blind, as well as Displacer can lower accuracy, which can help her avoid like attacks in general much more easily. So this is going to be very good for her survivability. She has 30% slash resistance penetration on her Limit Break to deal a good amount of less mitigated damage, because having that slash resistance penetration is really important, especially if most of your attacks that are important are slash. She's able to provide an AoE resistance buff to her teammates as well as herself, and she can match UR Zazan's potential evasion at her own full potential setup. So keep that in mind, she is going to be very evading. Now let's talk about the cons. She has no or low base defense, and as well as Spirit. I didn't put it there, but it's supposed to be there. I apologize for that. She has very low total and base HP, and only realistic survival option is going to be evasion for her. And I say this because I believe her total HP at level 120 Master Ability included no items or anything else on. She has like 3.1k total HP, and then her base amount is lower by like a good amount. So it's kind of sad to see that they really said evade on her or she will pretty much die. She cannot really ignore building up her attack stat due to the stat and modifiers being already low. Her hardest hitting ability outside of like Dragoon is going to be her Limit Break, which is 200%. Everything else is going to be 170% or lower. So she really is not going to be hitting that hard. And her max potential attack from her own solo setup is around like 1000 attack, or almost close to 1100, but there are other units that can already hit like 1300, 1400. She is definitely on the backside of damage. She has no barrier breaks, slash resistance penetration is only on her Limit Break, and it's not a buff, by the way. It does not last for like 3 turns. Like 2B's Limit Break does last for 3 turns after you use it, but Frederika's for some reason is only on usage, which I really don't know why. If they put it on like at least a 3-turn buff after using it, I see no problems with it, but because it's only on the Limit Break alone, she has nothing after that for in terms of like slash resistance. So I don't really know why it was like set up like that way. Anyways, Mirage Feint is really good, however it only affects physical damage. This means she can still get blown up by magic damage in general, and that that reaction ability won't actually do anything towards magic in general. Her passives are not flexible, as I said. If you do want to switch out the recommendations I said, that means you are either giving up luck, agility, evasion, attack, or defense penetration. So yeah, keep in mind like what passives you're really going to switch out in terms of what you want to gain when you lose like one of those, or like a multiple of those. She has no 100% hit abilities or extra accuracy to fight against other evasion units, so she has to really watch out as well. I mean, this applies to all evasion units in general. They all have to watch out for other evasion units unless they have a backup. Lena has unevadable pain. Halloween Leela has a 30% additional accuracy on her ability, stuff like that. Those evasion units do have other options. Frederika unfortunately does not, unless you do class match with the ninja subjob for Decider of Fate, which is 60 accuracy. But remember, that is very significant scenarios that don't really happen unless you're the one dictating it, which only happen really in manual play. She's very reliant on a specific vision card setup without much flexibility. In terms of survivability, you will almost always want to use her own vision card, the Halloween vision card, on herself, as well as using either the solitary line in the party, but someone must have the Secrets of the Heart vision card, the luck vision card. Otherwise, everyone's evasion as well as accuracy in general will just not be as high without that setup. She is vulnerable to disable and stop, so you have to keep that in mind for status ailments. Her most relevant hard-hitting abilities are extremely short range, and even then they are lower than 100% attack outside of her limit break. So even though they are short range and don't do as much damage as you want them to, she doesn't even hit hard outside of the short range. So I felt like they should have at least either boosted her damage if it's going to be that short range, or increase her range and keep the damage. So I don't understand why they would put her at risk for that situation. Her overall kit is built around outlasting the opponent due to no high burst potential and lack of stronger AoE abilities. She doesn't really have that much AoE abilities, and they're all short range as well. So really, you want her to outlast your opponent. That's why she even has Dragon's Blade or Mirage Feint. If she keeps evading and keeps using Drained Flurry to kind of heal back any chip damage that she survives from, then she will win out in those fights in general. However, if she gets bursted on, Energy Raid, stuff like that, and she does not survive it, she is taken out instantly and doesn't really have any secondary options to survive outside of that. Engine Blade, which is the Final Fantasy 15 collaboration weapon, which is not out yet, but it will be maybe soon, hopefully this month maybe. She must use a vision card if you don't have that blade to a specific setup so that she can obtain slash resistance penetration. Otherwise, if you don't have it, most and if not all relevant tanks can easily take her slash damage without even batting an eye at her. King Mont will be just fine. Freyavia with her own vision card will be fine, and her EX passive. Dwayne will be fine, stuff like that. They will be able to tank her damage just fine and not really care too much. She acts more as a utility DPS, which has less flexibility and usages compared to Noctis. And yes, I said this because I did look at Noctis's kit. He does a lot of what she can do, but more. But not in terms of evasion. Noctis is more focused on spirit, agility down, 100% hit abilities, CT down, stuff like that. Noctis is more flexible in terms of that utility. Frederika is more kind of just geared more towards defense down for her team, as well as only evasion for herself or if her team is evasion. So yeah, the usages go down in number just in general, so you do have to be wary about that. Next part, Joom is going to be coming out in about a month or so because we have Oberon coming out in a week. That means Joom is slated to come out in about approximately a month, which is a hard counter to almost all Earth units, and Frederika is not spared with this, even with her evadability. Keep in mind, Frederika also base slash resistance is -5%. Joom does not only hit decently hard with her setup, she also has 100% hit ability that is slash. You know what that means? Frederika is not going to have a good time. Joom is also very slash resistant, very tanky for that situation too. Frederika is not going to have a good time in terms of meta. So yeah, if you wanted to pull Hrika for meta, be prepared for it to be kind of shut down easily or countered. And I don't say counter very often, but it will be countered by Joom because that's how strong of Joom is as a unit. Overall though, in the end, I do think Halloween Hrika is a unit that will shine greatly in class match, and she's going to be good in Guild War as well in certain maps and setups. However, she's not going to be really bringing anything new to the table. She's not going to be solidifying her own meta due to existing units already, and she's not going to be an entire game changer or anything either. So yeah, she's more going to be a fun unit that's kind of used more niche situations rather than covering an overarching matchups. So she's going to be more niche, unfortunately. Now her TMR chase rating is going to be called Snuggles, which is the teddy bear. I did rate this a 3 out of 5. Accessory, it does give 264 HP, which is not too much. 10 spirit is not bad, and 14 crit rate, which will be helpful for critical hits in general. The active ability is going to be Sneaky Snuggles, which is going to decrease the single target resistance by 20 for 2 turns when you perform a critical hit for yourself. Now what this means is that once you buff yourself and you hit a unit for critical damage, they will have their single target resistance decreased. However, the reason why I didn't rate this as high as you might think it might be is that whoever you use it on has to be in range, has to get a damage off, and it has to be a critical hit. So there are a lot of underlying situations here that have conditions that have to be met to be fulfilled to use the TMR in general. The stats themselves are also not doing any favors. Like, would you rather have a decreased single target resistance here, or would you rather have a re-raise completely? A lot of people would pick re-raise if you've seen most situations, it's just better that way, or even like a TMR that can heal or like give a barrier. This one is not bad, however, I would say it's more geared towards class match in my opinion. But yeah, overall this is Frederika's rating in my opinion, 4 out of 5, and because she is above a 3.5, we do have an additional slide for her. And this is my example setup for Frederika. This is also going to be using future stuff, but yeah. Let's talk about future stuff to consider actually, because this will make more sense. So first off, Engine Blade does have 20% slash resistance penetration. If we get this Final Fantasy 15 collaboration soon, we should be able to farm up Engine Blade, which would be very good for like all slashers in general. The next raid is probably going to be Holy Flan, I'm guessing, which is going to be in December, and this does allow the Santa Claus to come out, which is going to be very strong for evasion units in general. That is something to consider. Another future thing to consider, as I said, Joom is expected to be the next 100 cost unit, which shuts down Earth very hard. And she doesn't have a 100% hit rate, so you do have to be careful. She also has Slash and Pierce as a tank as well, meaning even Oberon is not spared from her amount of counter. I know it's kind of sad for a lot of Earth users, however, this is just how it's going to be because of how Gumi is balancing things. From here, however, future things to consider is that wind DPS in general, 100% hit and slash resistant tanks will be extremely effective against Frederika. Halloween Leela does have the additional 30% hit ability, as well as being just as evadey as well as high accuracy as Frederika, so it will be a matchup that she will have to kind of watch for. I will also say Aranea, I know she keeps coming up, however, she does have a 100% hit rate strike ability that hits for 165% damage modifier, so it's not low. And Frederika is weak to strike. She will get dumpstered if she gets targeted at all by Aranea's 100% hit ability, so keep that in mind. Anyways, outside of that, let's talk about the actual setup for Frederika. So this is going to be the Evadey Earth comp. Katon's going to be using the Secrets of the Heart Vision card. Zazan's going to be using the Solitary Lion. And then Frederika is going to be using her own Vision card, the Halloween one, as well as Dark Chimera, specifically for the evasion and slash damage, Engine Blade for the slash resistance penetration, and the Santa Robes for the highest amount of evasion possible, some light resistance, and bells, because she will be needing the AP unless she is buffing her own team. So yeah, this is kind of an example setup of Frederika. Yeah, we've come to the end of the video. If you like it, please leave a like and or comment or subscribe, and until next video, peace out.